Hello everyone, Dr. Carl here, Infinity Health. Today's video is going to be a bit of an offshoot from hydroxychloroquine. This is more about just drug studies in general. This is a bit of an insight as to how a drug is studied and how it gains approval for a specific indication or reason. So the drug manufacturer presents the data, this is an abbreviated version, presents the data to the FDA, and the FDA looks at it and says, yeah, this is a legitimate study. We'll give you the A-OK to go ahead and market your drug for this indication. And so, of course, these studies are based on statistics and numbers. And we always have to remember, Mark Twain didn't write, but he always said that there are three kinds of lies. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And that is very much the truth. Statistics can be manipulated in many ways, but nevertheless, they're part of the game that we play. Henry Clay also outlined in his statement that statistics are no substitute for judgment. So that's even the bigger overriding picture here. So a lot of this stuff I'm going to talk about, a lot of physicians don't even understand. So if you come out of this with a little bit of kernel of knowledge, then you're ahead of the game. So how does a doctor decide whether to use a drug? Well, some ways like the FDA does. How does the FDA decide to approve a drug? There is a clinical study, and that's submitted to the FDA. But the doctors, we, or everybody, has access to those same clinical studies, so I can make my own opinion, and my opinion may disagree with that of the FDA. The FDA doesn't care. They don't solicit my opinion, but it just may differ, and it has differed, from that. So know that I can prescribe a drug if it's FDA approved, and then I can prescribe it for that particular disease. So the FDA approves a drug for diabetes, then I will prescribe that drug for diabetes, or I may prescribe it. However, the FDA may approve a drug for diabetes, but I find, or others may find, that drug might be helpful for migraines. So I will go ahead and prescribe that drug for migraines, knowing that it's not FDA approved for migraines. And so if I'm giving it for migraines, that is what's called off-label. So that's another way that a drug can meet my approval, if I feel that it's helpful, even though there's no FDA-supported study. And another nuance about drugs is placebo effect. No matter when you study drugs, there's going to be a certain amount of placebo effect. Nerve drugs, antidepressants, etc., sometimes upwards 30%. So when we talk about proving that something works, just remember that I don't know that we can ever use proving in medicine, at least without being really, really careful. We can't, if you become an absolutist, then it becomes an issue. So there's a lot of different issues with regards to this drug study issue, and I want to go ahead and give you an example. So we're going to walk you through a set of numbers. I'm going to walk you through a drug study. It's a drug study on a diabetes drug, a drug that I use. So this is not an all-encompassing video. This is simply to educate people on how a typical drug study is done. This drug is already approved for the indication for the treatment of glucose lowering, to improve diabetes sugar readings. But a lot of times in drugs, we take it a step further. We are not looking to see, do we just improve the numbers, the blood pressure number, the glucose number. We're wanting to know long-term, what's the downstream effect? Are we reducing heart attacks, reducing strokes, are we reducing kidney dysfunction, are we reducing a lot of different things? So we're not looking at, do we bring the systolic pressure down by 20 points? We also want to know that in doing so, that we're helping out this person's heart. So spend a few minutes and check out this presentation that follows right here. It gives a walkthrough, and hopefully you come out with a little bit of information on the back end. If you don't, then I guess I screwed up. But let's take a look. All right. Here we go. So this will be my feeble attempt at trying to demonstrate how a typical drug study works. We're demonstrating, can we prove, in fact, that the drug works. So it's some kind of a walkthrough here. We're going to look at how data is assembled to see if the drug works. We're also going to do a rough overview of the process that the drug manufacturer needs to go through. Now, this is going to be about a diabetes drug, and they have other requirements. Diabetes drugs have to show not only now that they reduce glucose sugar levels, but that they also reduce heart attacks and strokes or prevent kidney issues. In other words, they have some actual benefit besides just the blood work results. So the drill down time, again, a diabetes drug, a drug that I use, by the way, and I think it's an effective drug for lowering sugars. We know it makes blood sugar better. That's not even in question. So we know the drug works for that. But now, like I said, the standard is to see if it prevents heart attacks and strokes. Drug won't get approved for diabetes these days unless it can prove some sort of outcome. So we want to prevent cardiovascular death, like dying from a heart attack, and also non-fatal heart attacks and strokes, because sometimes you can have a heart attack that leaves you with a floppy heart. You're not dead, but it's difficult to breathe and life is difficult. We call all these cardiac events and strokes, call them MACEs, major adverse cardiac event, cardiovascular event, MACE. That's the short term. And this study that I'm going to talk about is a 4-year study. And it involves 9,200, actually a little bit over 9,200 diabetic patients. And they're already on other medications. And so they're on regular care. So 9,200 diabetic folks that are taking medication. And the basic numbers, you're going to take these 9,200 patients and you're going to assure that they're actually on regular diabetes care. In other words, they're actually treating their condition. And that they also are slightly high risk and that they already have some form of cardiovascular disease, blocked arteries, heart attacks, etc. Of these 9,200 patients, you're going to keep half of them just on standard care. You're not changing anything. You're going to give them a placebo, like a fake pill or a fake injection that they're actually going to use, so they don't know if they're actually getting the drug or not. The other half of this group, of the 9,200, they're going to be standard care. In other words, they're still going to take their regular medicines, but they're also going to be given this new drug. So we're splitting up this population of over 9,000 people into a group getting regular care plus a fake thing, and the other half is getting regular care plus this new experimental drug. And we're going to treat all these people and follow them for 4 years. At least that's the design. So we're just going to follow them for 4 years straight and just kind of keep track of numbers as they go. Because a lot of times changes take place over years, not over months or weeks. So I'm going to show you the numbers here in this little mini spreadsheet for this drug trial. On the left, you see the number of patients and the number of people who had these events, these MACE events. In the placebo arm, that is usual care plus a fake drug, there was 4,672 patients. In the arm where they actually took the other half of people and gave them this new drug, that was 4,668 patients. In the placebo group, who got nothing besides their regular care, they got a fake new drug, if you will, there were 694 patients that developed some sort of major adverse cardiac event, whether it was a heart attack, stroke, etc. In the group that received the new drug, 608 people had some sort of major cardiac event. So the difference is 86. Roughly both numbers of people were treated in each group. Roughly the same number of people were in the group that got usual care plus placebo, and another group had usual care plus the new drug. About the same number of patients, which makes it easy to calculate. And you can see that the group that got the test drug had fewer cardiac events. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned specifically, there were 86 less cardiac events in the treatment group with similar size populations. So what this means, and the drug study actually didn't go to 4 years, it only went to 3.8 years. But if you look at the data from the spreadsheet, it said that we had to treat 4,668 people for 3.8 years, again, treating them with the new drug, in order to prevent 86 events. So that number that went down 86, in that group, we had to treat them for 3.8 years to see that difference. Which means, now break out your calculators, or I'll do it for you if you prefer, that it took 4,668 patients being treated to notice a difference of events of 86. And that if you then just do that simple division, 54 patients needed to be treated to prevent one event. So again, it was over 4,000 people you were treating all this time, and you noticed a difference of 86 events. So that comes to 54 patients per one event. That 54 is known as something we call the number needed to treat, NNT. That's a really good index of how powerful a drug is or how effective it is for the population or the community. We had to treat 54 people for 3.8 years in order to see the difference of one person improvement. Then we take down these numbers and we say that, for example, this test drug I'm talking about, which is now in the market, it costs $900 per month. That's the cash price for it, assuming you're at the higher dosage. Not everybody has insurance, so sometimes it's really $900 a month. And we had to treat patients 3.8 years, which is about 45 months. And I said earlier, the number needed to treat from the previous slide, the number needed to treat was 54. 54 people to treat to prevent one event, which means, here we go, math time again, 54 patients needed treatment for 45 months at $900 per month. So if we just do the multiplication, 54 patients times 45 months times the $900 per month, drum roll please, that shows that in order to prevent one major adverse cardiac event, that over $2 million worth of drug costs had to be spent in order to do that. That's a function of the fact that the drug is so damn expensive, and also that so many people had to get treated over a long time, 3.8 years, in order to really see or calculate that appreciable difference. Nevertheless, that difference of 86 events, because of the way the study was set up, is considered a significant difference. So when you look at this drug study, you say, oh, well, if it only prevented 2 events over 4 years, you might think it's not worth it. That's basically zero effect. In other words, it is not significant difference. Yeah, it's a difference of 2, but it's not a significant difference. Kind of gets more into weeds about how it's set up. So it still did prevent events. In this particular study, there's another calculation that we can do, and I'll spare you the calculation, but there's something called the relative risk reduction of 13%. There's also something called the absolute risk reduction of 1.9%. This does not mean, and this is a very important concept, this does not mean that if you personally took the drug, you would have a 13% chance, less chance risk of a cardiac event. You can't do that. Remember, a population study was over 9,000 people. That's N equal 9,000. You are one person only. You're going to either have the heart attack rather, or you're not, 0 or 1. So it does not mean that just because the study says there was a 13% reduction that you individually are guaranteed to have that reduction, because you can't individually have a 13% reduction. So one cannot, another big caveat, one cannot apply population data to an individual. And if you hear anybody espouse that, they're probably just kind of slipped up a bit, but know that that literally cannot be done. So an overview. All right, we found out this drug reached significant difference in events. It works. You can debate on how significant difference is calculated, and a lot of people are debating that rather mightily, but we're saying this drug works. It received FDA approval so that the drug company could go out and say, not only do we reduce your glucose, we also have the indication for reduction of cardiac and stroke events. And so the FDA permits them to say that because their study, in fact, backed that up. Maybe weakly so, but it backed it up. But as part of the overview, is it likely to help you? We don't know that. That is simply an unknown, whether it's going to help you if you fit this population category of having diabetes and having a prior cardiovascular or cerebrovascular event. The way I can look at it is that if I had 54 people in my waiting room who are diabetics who have had previous heart attacks, and I gave all 54 of these people this particular drug, that I could expect that I will have favorably impacted over 4 years one person of that 54 in my waiting room. That's not exactly the impact we like to be able to brag about, but such is a drug study and such is FDA approval. And I mentioned about how you determine whether it's significant or not. Even if it takes a while to show an event, if you have a large enough population in the drug study, you can often demonstrate some sort of favorable outcome if the study's driven long enough. So there we are. That's my discussion for this particular scenario, and we'll get back to regular right now. Okay, y'all, thanks for sitting through that. I hope you were able to get something out of that. A little bit of information, a little bit of digging into the brain of whatever it is we call it. It's how we look at drug studies and how effective they are and what's the cost effectiveness and a number of other items. So yes, again, thank you for listening. This is not something too complicated, but I think it's important in the big picture that we all understand healthcare and medication approvals, etc. Thank you for listening. If you like, please like our video and please subscribe. Go ahead and click on the subscribe button so you'll be able to be alerted with new videos. And share. Feel free to share to all friends, family, or enemies. Doesn't matter. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon next time. Bye.